Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello. Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg, and I'm here with our guest today, who is a psychic medium, inspirational speaker, and author of her book, In the Presence of Proof, A Medium's Guide to the Afterlife, and How to Create Heaven on Earth, Deborah Hanlon. Welcome, Deborah. How are you doing?
Hello, Marla. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for being a part of the show today. I'm really excited to talk to you. So I love to start the show finding out, is this something you were born with, or is this something you had to actually develop, your abilities?
Hindsight, I believe it's both. I really believe that people have I think we all have a ability to do anything, and then it's when our natural inclination to gravitate towards whatever it is, we put our attention and focus on it. And I had very unique family experiences early on in my life with what I think is a natural and innate curiosity for all things unknown. And I think with all of that and my conditioning and upbringing, that it sort of all came together. So I think it's the nature, nurture, both. It's something we can all do, and I just developed it over time much quicker or earlier.
It's funny, I just had a conversation with myself as I was promoting the show, telling the listening audience the same thing. That everybody has this ability, but some people have to move out of their way. They have to develop it. They have to, really build it like a muscle.
Totally.
Do you agree with
Absolutely. And I think life provides us the work, if we actually become aware of the work that we're doing, to exercise those muscles of intuition and awareness and paying attention to our sensory experiences. And again, I think it's a natural, for me, it's a natural, I love everything about this stuff, as we call it. I just love it all. I love the physics of it. I love the uncertainty of it. I love the possibilities of all that we talk about.
I love the spontaneity of it. That's something I just heard. It's like, because it's very spontaneous. There are times when you don't have, you may not be with a client, but all of a sudden you're getting information and it's just very spontaneous because some spirit on the other side are like, no, you need to tell this person whatever it is I want them to know. And then we, as the case might be, as a psychic medium, have to determine if your store is going to be open or closed at that particular period. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And spontaneity is the word. I love that there's nothing, there's no direct path. It's not black and white. It's just something that's filled with possibilities more than anything else. So to me, that's exciting. That's all things exist versus here's who I am. This is my life path. This is what it's going to be. And that's it. I've never been someone to follow that.
Which is so interesting. And when you were talking, I saw this kaleidoscope with the images shifting and changing and all the colors. And that's how I feel things happen in everybody's life. But when you're doing the work that we do, it really shifts. It can shift on a dime, and it can shift in a really phenomenal way. Like awe-inspiring is the word that's coming to me, or two words.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's unfortunately, it's a part of our aspect of life and living that is so not talked about in a really good light, in a very normal light. To be honest, it's usually still in a category or a box of either new age or woo woo, or and that irks my soul because I'm like, this is our true nature. This is what humans are all about. This is our natural sense of being human. There's nothing extra about it. There's nothing weird about it. It's only weird when it's portrayed as such. So one of my goals, I feel like, in life is to normalize this intuitive muscle, this intuitive strength, knowledge, whatever you want to call it, to where it works for us as individuals, as collective. That really is the goal.
It truly is. And I so agree with you with that, because there's my brain just went blank. Because there's so much activity for you. And I don't know if you're seeing the messages coming through for you to say hello. And if you go to the chat on the left. Yeah, but this is so phenomenal. I do have a quick question. How does your husband and your children react to what you do?
It's very funny. I was just looking at Facebook recently. You know how every day it has like your Facebook memories that you've written in the past.
Yes.
And I shared a story of I have 3 sons. They're older now, late teens and very early 20s. But I really didn't talk about what I do for a living because, I mean, I feel like doctors don't necessarily talk about their job to their children, and teachers don't talk about their day to their children in that regard. So I really didn't talk about it as like, hey, by the way, you can do this too. To me, it's an assumption. It's an assumption that this is how we live. But fairly recently, one of my oldest sons called me and said, Mom, have you ever had a feeling so strong that you had to follow it? And I thought, yeah, no, never. So it made me laugh. Like, do you not know what I do for a living? Do you not know, and I never pushed it on them. I just went about my life. So they don't think much about it until they see me. I just had an experience with one of my son's girlfriend's parents, and that was extraordinary for him to see that interaction. So I think they're getting it now.
It's fascinating. I know that my husband was not on board. Well, now he is. After 13 years together, he now gets what I do. He may not understand all the mechanics of it, but he understands that I'm able to help him, and he allows it to happen. Where before it was like, no.
It's an odd thing. I don't really talk about it. I mean, Greg doesn't really, it doesn't really come up unless I'm sharing, how, oh my gosh, it still blows my mind every day. Every day my mind is blown of like, wow, I always say I can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. And it still excites me to this day, every single day, with that I'm still in awe of it, not in awe of me. I'm in awe of it.
Right,
the
exactly.
possibility of it.
What's really interesting is that when I was younger, it was like, it was projected outward, and now because it's okay. So it's like the difference between working in retail and working in a restaurant, and not because of but in retail you see the same merchandise day in and day out until things turn over for the season. Where in a restaurant you have different customers, different specials, and you're boom, 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 boom. And so I feel that this work is more like, because nothing is ever the same. It's not boring at any mean, and you're never alone, which I always talk about. And the stuff that comes to you is not the same old stuff unless you're not listening to what they're saying, and then they'll keep repeating themselves until you either get it or you do something else that's counterintuitive to what you really need to be doing for yourself. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, I say the same thing all the time. I say I start a new job every day, every 90 minutes. With every new appointment, it's like I'm starting a new job with a new person all over again, because it's different every single time. So it's like a new job every day.
And I love that because it keeps things fresh and exciting for me. Everybody is put in their own, their own lane, But for me, I like the change. I like the diversity that happens when you're helping people and you're of service and you're giving, whether it's through a session or whether it's, a comment in passing that you're hearing to a friend or family member for their highest and best good. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I sometimes I'm thinking, my gosh, I am a bit of a perfectionist on some things, certainly not all. And this is not a good career for a perfectionist because it's all out of your hands. It's completely out of my hands of what's going to happen, what's going to come through. And I don't like that because I also want to say, okay, tell me this, tell me that, tell me this, tell me that. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. So it's six of one, half a dozen of another. But at the end of the day, what really excites me is possibility that comes with this. And when we talk about this, I mean, we're connecting with consciousness,
Yes.
connecting with this life force, knowledge, divine intelligence that never dies. And just knowing that puts me in awe most of the time. I mean, trust me, I'm real world and I get really aggravated on dumb things and I can't stand slow drivers in the left lane and I'm all tense and aggravated and angry. So
You're
it's all
human,
that
is
stuff
what you're
too. Yeah,
saying.
exactly. Like I'm not like walking around levitating over here, by the way. But it is nice to know that it's just so much more possibility than what's right in front of us. And that to me literally has been my life's journey, my life's search. And it just excites me. That's why my book is called In the Presence of Proof, because I am in the presence of proof of an afterlife every single day of my life through everyone I meet, because I know I don't know them, clients and people on shows and all this.
Right.
And yet I know stuff, and I know there's no way for me to know it unless there was this ability. So I'm in the presence of proof every single day of my life. I can't refute it.
And what's so funny is there's nothing that, I mean, I love when you said you can't, because there are things you cannot know. You cannot look up on Google or Instagram or whatever and then give them the information. And that's when you know you've got somebody who is truly connected to clean, as I like to say, clean, clear, concise information. Because some people go into the darker areas to receive information. And I've experienced having a conversation with you, and I truly feel that where you go is clear and clean for your highest and best good, and for the highest and best good of your clients, because that to me is the golden key, is that you want the best for your clients. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all about to me, it is all about proof because unfortunately the human mind is wired for that. And we are here in the physical, and there's limitations and laws and rules that we here in the physical are going to want to abide by, and proof is one of them. So when people say that they are believers and they go on faith alone, I'm amazed by that because I'm not wired like that at all. I'm wired for proof. I'm wired for, if it exists, show me. I wish I had more of the ability of faith. And I often say that I wouldn't believe in any of this if I didn't do it myself. Not at all. Because I am just somebody that would be very, I would have healthy skepticism. I certainly wouldn't have rude skepticism about it, but I would have healthy skepticism of, I don't know, how's this happening? So I get skeptics, I get skepticism, and I get understanding like that people need proof. I do too, every single day. So it's a function of being human that we kind of have to address and not get stuck there.
So here's a question. Your first experience, whether with psychic ability or mediumship, could you have any story about what it was like when you first got your very first message or bundle of information?
So looking back at my life, I realized, oh my gosh, I had this my whole life. I just did not know what this was. That's why I like to teach this to people, because I assure you all, whoever's tuning in, you do this. You can do this. You're doing this. You're completely unaware of doing this. Now, can everyone do it for other people? I don't think so. I don't think everyone's meant to. Just like I'm not meant to get on stage and sing. I can sing. I not well, but I can do it, but I'm not meant to sing in front of people. So it's sort of like that. So hindsight my whole life. The moment that I remember, the first moment was I was actually attending a funeral, and I felt that this woman who had passed, who I did not know very well, I felt that she was talking to me. And of course, I had just had a baby about 4 months before, and I thought to myself, okay, when I get home, I need to see somebody because I think I need medication because this is weird. I feel like I can feel her. I can feel everything she's going through. I knew things that, people would say. I was in her home over a course of 3 days, and people would say, "Where did mom keep her old blankets?" And I would hear in my mind's ear, bottom drawer, left side, dresser in the bedroom. And I would tell the people, like, just could you check that dresser, which astounds me. Like, why did I even speak up about it is amazing. And it was there. So I had a weekend full of instantaneous whoa moments that of course I did not think was mediumship at all. I just thought, oh my gosh, I need some help. I don't
Did you
know
consider it
what's
to
going
be
on.
baby hormone changes?
I totally thought it was post craziness. Yeah, I thought it was postpartum, like, I don't know what's going on here, but somebody needs to get hold of it. And thankfully, that's not what this is.
Interesting. When we were warming up, off start talking about makeup and how makeup just was really your catalyst to opening. I'm going to assume from our conversation. Would you like to share what happened?
Yes. So I had early on, when I was 3, I had a 4-year-old brother die, and he had a rare childhood cancer. And at that time, I think my parents were
Sorry.
pretty progressive to have him, be able to die at home. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was in our home at the very beginning of our hospice movement, and I was surrounded by all these really high-level professional adults in the field of death and dying. Different nurses who were also deep meditators would teach me, not literally take me aside and teach me, but I would watch, meditate. So it was this family trauma amongst these unbelievable humans who really understood how to talk about and handle death. And so here I am, a little 3-year-old. I don't know what's really going on a logical level. And so that was my early experience with death. And then after that, my mother actually did a brief panel at Omega with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And I remember in my little mind going to Omega, maybe I was like 4 or 5 at that point, with the sign. And so with the sign, the Omega sign, if anyone has been. Last summer I was able to teach there, and it really was one of these full circle, incredible, incredible moments of my life that was so powerful that my whole life life never makes sense, so I don't want to throw that it makes sense, but it sort of everything made it sense to me in that
It
moment.
sort of tied in together. You sort of became understanding because you're weaving of what was going on.
It was the threads of my life. Like, it was all adding up, and it was all going into one direction. And then of course Elizabeth Lesser wrote a blurb for my book, and I mean, it's just, these were these major highlights. So Omega is something that's super, super close to my soul, just because.
So was your mother a seeker, someone who was just open to people who could help her, or was she too a healer or open to psychic and medium information knowingly? I'll put it that way.
I think she was naturally a seeker. Before this all happened, she was always very interested in many religions because of her backstory. And my brother's death absolutely put her on a big, deep internal seeking search. And I was along for the ride as a young girl. I do believe my mom is incredibly intuitive, and is in that, in my opinion, in that unfortunate category of not knowing what to do with it. And so it didn't really necessarily help her. But she's super, super intuitive and just never like sort of utilized it.
But what a great honor to be up in the part of the panel, especially for, with the people that were running the panel. So very cool. That's a great story. I want to know, have you have a story of a client? You don't have to mention names. You don't have to get into the details whether I know you're talking about them, but where you felt that your session, like they came in one way and they walked out like a new person based on the information they received. And like, could you explain like how they came in and where the shift happened?
Whew, that's a great question, and as I'm like sort of going to the Rolodex of my mind to pull one out, I'm literally seeing so many and taking in that gratitude of like, wow, we don't stop to really kind of take it in. Most recently, I was on the phone doing a phone session with a man who was about 85,
Wow.
and his wife passed, who he had been with for over 60 years. And I get even chills even just thinking about it. He wrote me the most amazing letter afterwards where he said, you gave my life purpose again. Now I know my wife is with me. Now I know that I can step forward, and know that he had to move to an assisted living place. And he said, now I know that my wife is in our new home together. So that was one of those things where I shared that letter with Greg. Like, this was so profound to me of like, wow, sometimes we don't stop and think about what we can possibly do for people. So that was just a really incredible moment just last week.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And it's comforting to know that your loved ones are on the other side, your ancestors, whether it's a romantic or if it's just an aunt, grandparent, whomever. As I like to say, nobody's alone. Even if they feel like they're alone in the human experience, they're never alone, and they just need to call out and ask for what it is they need. Do you ever get information from those on the other side that talk about, how people need to really ask for the things that they need because they don't have the free will to do it on their own?
Yes, I feel that because we're so much entrenched in the human experience and the physical reality of things, um, it's really hard for us to get out of our own way. And it is hard to hear that we're not alone when this man is in his new place that's very unfamiliar, and he is physically alone. So it is a hard concept as just regular humans to grasp. So I like to use the word like we're always connected, because
Mm-hmm.
we are alone, and not alone, but we are feeling physically alone. But we have to remember we're always connected. I mean, the air that I'm taking in right now is connected to the trees right outside my window that have provided the oxygen. And, everything is in symbiosis. That's proven science. That's not woo woo. That's not weirdness. That's absolutely proven. So I like to help people remember that we're connected, and we just might be unaware of that connection and those connections, and then what are the little things we can do to sort of suture up that awareness or lack of awareness that we're connected.
So what are some of the things that you can share with the listeners of things that they can do?
Oh, meditation,
Mm-hmm.
meditation. And I'm sure everyone has heard that, and I'm sure everyone is like, yes. And then they think, oh, I know it's so hard. And I know it's really hard to meditate. I am so ADD that I always tell people, like, if I can meditate, I can get you to meditate, because I totally understand it. I also am a real world person with, busy lives as we all do, and scattered and distracted with our devices and all of that stuff we do. Um, but a meditation is really, truly so simple. We can make this very simple. And at any moment of any time, whether we're super ill or super, super well, we could always find our breath. We could always ask, what is my breath doing
Yes.
right now? And the breath follows the natural rhythm and tempo of the universe for your organism. It is always in the right rhythm. So that alone, and I know I could feel it as everyone's listening, like you found your breath, you became aware of it, and it anchored you a little bit more. That's all meditation is. So that was a meditation. We don't need to sit for 30 minutes, although that's amazing and helpful. But you don't have to make it this big project. It's always at any moment when you feel squirrely, just find your breath. See what your breath is doing. Notice your breath. What tempo is that at? Because now the brain needs to catch up with the tempo of the breath, and you will always be calm.
Love that, because it's true. And I'm one of those who keep trying to meditate, and this comes in my way and that comes in my way. So I get a lot of mini meditations, but for the having what I call the hunk of meditation, like you're saying, 20, 30 minutes of time. But what I find is when you're doing it, it's amazing when you finally get the chance to do it. If you just allow yourself to not push anything. That's what I feel the secret of meditation is we as humans want to push thoughts away or push visions away. And my feeling is we let them happen. And as we let them happen, then things start opening up for us because we're allowing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think a large majority of people, I should say, think that meditation is like we're just sitting and our mind is quiet and there's nothing going on. And no, that's not what's happening during meditation at all. Quite the opposite. All of a sudden you become aware of just how insane your mind is. That's why we don't want to do it. Because it's all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, we're all over the place. Oh my God, I forgot my laundry. Did I let the dogs out? It's just crazy. So meditation is just that art of observing, like, oh, what is my mind doing? With humor. I always say,
Right.
do it with humor.
It's about being curious and then not taking everything so seriously. Yeah, because I'm a very literal person. It took me a long time to be able to put my literal ability to the side and to allow myself to just sort of take in what's coming to me and going, oh, that's interesting. And why is that here? And asking those kind of questions. What are you doing here? Why? And if you just are quiet enough, you'll get your answers to these questions that are not even deep-seated questions. They're just like, what are you doing here? Who are you? You'll get your answers. That's my belief. Now, you have some meditations coming up. You have a guided meditation on May 25th, I want to talk about, but you also do meditations, channeled meditations every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So let's talk about the one coming up on May 25th, and let's move into the Sunday meditations.
Yeah, so because I believe meditation is just so critical and important in a real world way, May 25th, I'm leading a guided meditation that is specifically designed to help us meet our loved ones who have passed. So it is only geared towards that. And I'll walk you through a whole experience and I'll explain how best to have the best experience you can before we begin. And it's held right on Zoom, so anyone anywhere can attend. And then every Sunday night at 8 p.m., those are also guided meditations on Zoom, although those are channeled and different every single week. And I use the energy of the group to sort of create the destination, if you will, the journey itself. So every single week is different. I've never repeated the same meditation in 20 years. The same one has never been repeated because it's the different group every single week. So if people are interested in signing up and trying the weekly meditation, they can email my office, which is hello@deborahhanlon.com, and they can receive a free Zoom code if you want to try it. If you're just curious, like, what is she talking about? What is this about? They can just try it.
Wonderful. And then the May 25th one, is this a fee-based meditation?
There is a fee for that, yes.
Okay, and so if you want to find out about this meditation, go to Deborah's website, which is deborahhanlon.com. I think you might be able to remember that. It's not too difficult. So we'll go with that. So what is evil energy?
So this is a big topic that comes up, and because because the work, everyone thinks a medium, well, the way I work as a medium is not just about the other side. To me, the whole thing is, what can we learn from knowing that our lives are infinite, our consciousness is infinite. So knowing that, how can we make our life, our physical life, the best we possibly want it to be? Because to me, there's no point then of suffering here, and we're going to suffer. It's going to happen. But how can we learn from it? How can we gain transformation because of that suffering? And along these lines, the topic of evil energy comes up all the time. And I am a firm believer that there is no such thing as evil energy. A firm believer. And the reason for this is energy is light. Energy is pure light. There's nothing dense or negative or harsh or harmful in light. It is complete opposite of that. So in pure energy form, energy cannot be evil. When we are in our human bodies, we're not just light. We have density to us. And so humans and beings can do not nice things. We can act evil. We can act unkind and do terrible things to others. Mostly we all do terrible things to ourselves in the form of a negative inner tape.
So true.
So there is evil in that regard. But when we die and leave the body, there's no such thing as evil energy. Evil entities, people will say, but I have an entity attached to me, or I have this, or I have that. And I say, no, you have a thought process that is stuck in a non-enlightened way, which the way the mind works is when we feel unwell, real or imagined, the mind is going to create something to be there so that it can explain, here's why this is evil and here's what you can do about it. So the concept of evil is a human, man-made concept. It is not found in nature anywhere. There's no such thing as evil in nature. Why? Because there's no such thing as evil. Humans created it because of the way our minds work and our brains work. So when people say, oh, I'm so afraid of doing this because I'm afraid of evil energies, then my next question is, what is it about yourself you're afraid to see? What is it about yourself you're afraid to know and pull up? Because we all have these hidden thoughts, these hidden, experiences that we don't want to talk about. We don't want to admit to. We have judgments. All of that is evil. But, the whole world always says, I'm such a good person. And I always say, no, you're not. It's okay. It's fine, but let's get real about it, and then let's look at it, and then let's bring some levity and lightness to those little moments that are not so nice. So are we killing people? Gosh, I hope not. Yes, some people are. But even when you're rude and mean to yourself, when you tell yourself, what a loser you are, or what a jerk, or you're so overweight, that's evil. If you really want to break it down, that's negativity.
That is definitely negativity. And yes, people beat themselves. They say things to themselves they never say to anybody else. And why is that okay? It's not. It's not okay to do that. But I do have a question, because I know that there are some souls that get stuck on Earth. And some of them are just confused or lost or still in shock by the quickness of their departing. How do you explain to, the ones that, let's say, but not possess, but hang out in somebody's dwelling and might do things, things happen to the human that there's no way of understanding how things are happening. Lights going on and off, sound, knocking sounds, people tripping people, beings, stuff like that. How do you explain something like that?
So I'm extremely unpopular with my response to this, and I'm aware of it. People say, you can't tell me otherwise, and I respect that. But those things are perceived as negative for a few reasons. I truly believe it is untreated trauma of some sort that is coming back to the human as if it's an external entity. But again, but it is not. It is a projection of the human mind and the undealt with trauma that's getting projected onto something else. That's one. Two, anytime we are in an unfamiliar space, or, well, let me put it in this example. If you're sitting in a chair and someone you love so much comes up behind you and you were not expecting them, I'm talking in the physical, and you weren't expecting them there, the moment you feel them there, you're going to get startled because you didn't know they were there. And that startled feeling to the mind and body is a natural response to, oh, I was not prepared. And then, but once you see the person that it is, you no longer hold on to that startled fear because you're like, oh, that's so-and-so.
Right.
However, the same thing works with energy. So if we all of a sudden feel or perceive an energy in our home or in our workplace or wherever we go, and all of a sudden we get a startled feeling, it is because the energy is unknown to you in that moment. And because you can't physically see it, the mind doesn't have time to say, oh no, you're fine, you're safe, it's fine, it's so-and-so. So the body is still trying to process. Remember, the brain is only designed, as evolved as we all think we are, the brain is only designed to keep us alive. It's really not that smart. It's just trying to keep us alive. So when we have this startled feeling, this creepy feeling, when we can't decipher why, we then start to think, oh, this must be a negative energy. I feel afraid. My body's I'm uncomfortable. I feel watched. We have all these sensations when really what's going on is the mind is trying to say, what is threatening me? Because I got startled, I felt something, and I don't really know what it is in my energy field that's doing that. And the brain is going to keep it going and going in a storyline. And then, of course, we're going to pick up our old traumas. We're going to pick up our conditioning. If you were raised to be fearful of these things, you're absolutely going to be 10 times more fearful of these things. I've done this again my whole life, and I get startled, not so much anymore, but by one particular energy that I never really understood why I felt them. They would startle me. I would get creeped out, and then I have to relax and realize, okay, I'm safe. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they want to do. I just don't know who or what this is. So I have a very different view on this sensation of, oh, they pushed me down the stairs. There's no way they pushed them down the stairs. There's no way. There's just no way, because that's an evil act, and energy is not evil.
I agree with the energy is not evil. How can it be? There is no way you can make that evil. So I truly, truly believe that. So here's a question. If someone is not loving where they are in their current lives, what is one thing that they can do to make that better? I really like that question.
That is a great question. So if someone is, can you say it to me again?
If someone is not loving where their lives are currently, what is the one thing they can do today to make their life better, make a shift?
Find your breath. Truly, so simple right there. Find your breath, because the breath is setting the tempo that you want to go at. The mind is the one that is saying, this situation is terrible. You can't get out of it. You've never done anything right. Whatever the story is that you're telling yourself, true or not true. And when we find our breath, we slow ourselves down. We give the mind a little bit of a break from that negativity. And that tiny break over time will add up to space in the mind. And space in the mind adds up to clarity. And then all of a sudden you start to go, I know what I need to do. I need to do this. And then the inspiration comes through. So, you know what? I was inspired. I've got to call so-and-so. And things, and I don't want to say things just happen, because I know in the world of manifestation, everyone talks about manifesting, and everyone thinks it's this I'm manifesting, it's a magic thing.
Yeah.
Manifesting is a function of who we are. We're not separate from manifesting. Being aware of what we're manifesting is what we need to be aware of. So, are we manifesting? Let's see. I'll take myself, for example. I am notorious for not eating well. I love junk. I just do. And so, when I don't feel well, I don't want to say and admit to myself, well, stop eating the junk. You can't eat that way. Instead, I want to create something else. And so I don't get still. So when I find my breath and I say, okay, what's going on? I could feel my body. My body's like, you really didn't need that piece of chocolate. It really doesn't feel good. And I start to behave differently because I'm aware that, no, you know what? My mind wants it, but my body doesn't. And that's for all of us. We all do this. We're all in this together. Nobody's
We
doing
do.
it better than anyone else or worse than anyone else. It's just about awareness. So if everything is going wrong, you're not going to fix everything tonight.
Right.
You're not going to fix it this week. You're not going to fix it this month. You're not supposed to. But you can find your breath and find your tempo and your rhythm.
I love that because the breath tempo is so important, and it's something many people do not talk about. So I'm grateful that you're talking about that. We do need to take us aside because it's charity shout out time,
Hey.
and your charity is St. Jude, which I love St. Jude. I used to live in Memphis, and just love what they do. What is it that brought you and St. Jude together, and why are you so passionate about having others help St. Jude?
Well, St. Jude, because my brother passed of a rare childhood cancer, that's just always been my connection with St. Jude and what they do for families. Our family was not, we didn't go to St. Jude's, but I just love their philosophy. I love what they do for their community, and they're just incredible. So that is the connection.
So, for anybody out there who doesn't know about St. Jude's, it's a children's hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, that takes care of children who are ill, primarily cancer, I think, or those rare diseases that other doctors can't find relief for. And no family pays for their travel or their food or their housing while their child is having their services, getting treated, having their treatments. So it's a beautiful, and Danny Thomas started this, I believe, in either the 50s or 60s. And he made a promise to St. Jude that if you help me become successful in my acting career, I will give back. And so hence how St. Jude was developed and created. And still, what is it, 60 years later? Is it 60 years? Something like that, maybe more. But 62 years later, that it's going on strong and helping millions of people throughout the course of their life. So thank you for that. It's stjude.org. So check them out, see how you can donate. Maybe it's in time if you're in the Tennessee area, or finances. Whatever you can do is appreciated. Please be aware. Thank you. Okay, so we do have one question about, I don't know if it's Angel or Angel, but she lost her son 19 months ago and wants to know, um, does he know that she or he loves or misses him?
Hmm. Are you able to ask what her son's first name is?
Well, yes, we just did.
Oh, great.
So, Angel or Angel, what is your son's first name? And so while we're waiting for that to come up, oh, they're asking, do you teach meditation?
I absolutely teach meditation. I have several different modalities. Sunday nights, 8 p.m. is live. It's also recorded. If you can't attend at the time that I'm hosting it, it's recorded. And even if you watch it later, your energy is included in the live because that's the way time and space works. Every weekday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern, I lead a free mantra meditation on Zoom. So from 6 a.m. to 6:20 a.m., we just are meditating together, and I think having some accountability with each other, having a place to go to do it together is helpful. lead guided meditations. I give primordial sound mantra, personalized mantras. I have an online course designed specifically to create your mantra based on the sound and vibration of the universe at the time of your birth. So we use your astrological charts, and I was certified through the Chopra Center for that one. So I teach all sorts of modalities of meditation.
Oh, I love it. That sounds wonderful. So the child's name is Nicholas, and he passed on the 5th of April.
Wow, so soon. I'm so sorry to hear this. Well, instantly, he'll show me that there's two other, I think they are siblings of his, but I think they're like unborn children that siblings of his, but I don't think they were born. So it's terminated pregnancy or miscarriages that he instantly shows me right off the bat. And then also what looks like an aunt, but not, I don't think it's like a biological aunt to him.
So I guess the question is, does he know how much he is loved and missed?
Oh, they all know that. I always say they've got the good spot.
They
The
do.
ones who pass, they've got the good spot. But he is he's got the energy I get with him, he's got a very sweet and salty sense of humor.
I
That's
love
how
that.
I can
Sweet and
explain it.
salted.
Yes.
That's great. So I hope that answers your question. And by the way, again, I don't mean to mispronounce your name if it's Angel or Angel, but you can reach out to Deborah at hello Deborah Hanlon, Hanlon, .com, and just reach out to her and set up a time to meet with her, because this is where you can get a rich plethora of information that will help you with your grieving process. And everybody grieves differently and they have different feelings. But when you have somebody who can connect, and like Deborah, and you help you through this process, it will help you understand what they're going through. And yes, you'll miss the physicalness, but it will shift the way you grieve. That's my personal feeling. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Deborah.
Oh, absolutely. It'll shift the way you grieve. It'll shift the way you live from this moment on. And this sounds silly or sounds doesn't make sense, but this is why I love death. And I know that sounds awful, but what I like about death is that it provides this massive doorway of opportunity of self-growth for all of us here. And so grief is the most incredible vehicle for transformation, for personal transformation.
It's true.
So there are, it's so soon, so I'm certainly not diminishing, saying like, yeah, it's going to totally solve your grief. We're not looking to solve your grief. We're looking to use it in a way that makes your life here in the physical much more purposeful, meaningful, simple, is really the goal too, not to overdo everything. So there's a lot of opportunities that are also presented when we're grieving terribly.
True. And it's only been a little bit more than 1 month. So it's normal that your heart would be so broken. But just know he's around. He is not far from you. And he is truly in a good place and does not want to see you spending too much time. I mean, he understands that this is what I'm getting, the grief process, but he wants you to be happy and live your life with joy, because he's feeling joyful. Would you disagree with that or agree?
I feel that they are so aware of our humanity. They know like we're not going to pull it together. We're not. We're just not. We're going to lose our ever-loving minds. We are going to stay down for a while. What does that mean? That could mean every day. It could mean all sorts of things. So there's a reality of grieving that I always feel they're aware of. They don't want us to do that, but they also know that we're not going to not. It's just
Right.
impossible. It's not going to happen. But they are not feeling what we are feeling. They are feeling for those, when we leave our body, death is the exact opposite experience that we know it to be. That's why we think
Right.
it's terrible. They are more connected with you than ever before. They don't miss a beat. They're not left out. They're not sad. They're not ill. They're not unhappy. They're not limited. I mean, they've got the good spot. So we think death is terrible because it is for us in
It
this
leaves a hole in
plane.
our heart.
Yeah, when we're here in the physical, we want people here in the physical.
Right.
When I do this for a living, and this is all I know, and I have zero doubts of the afterlife. And I don't want people I love to die. I don't want that. Even I know that they're going to be with me, and I don't want them in that form. I want them here.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, there's a
they
little bit
know.
different when you can put your arms around them and hug them, feel them, smell them, all of that. But there's some solace, I believe, in knowing that they're nearby and that you can ask them to show up and wait for them to show up, because they will. As you're open, and I say, don't think of it linearly, think of it very abstractly, because you're just not going to get the message the way you might expect to get it. You're shaking your head, yes. So I'm feeling you're in
Absolutely.
agreement with what I'm saying.
Yes, we all want it a certain way, and we think this is the way it's going to be. Even when we hear mediums speak, this is why I'm always so cautious of how I say things too, because you know, we all want the signs, but it's very rarely like a burning bush. It's very
Right.
rarely like a wow, they're materializing in front of me. That does not happen to me anyway. That's not the way I experience it. So it's very subtle. We miss 99% of our little, I call them winks instead of
Yep.
sign. We miss our little winks because we're human, and we can lessen the level that we miss of those winks and signs, but they're giving them to us all the time. We're just not going to pick up on it because we're human, and I don't either for my loved ones.
And yeah, just to say, you might be, a song might come on the radio, but if you're not in tune, thinking, "Oh, that was my loved one's favorite song," you're not going to, put two and two together, and it's just sort of going to go over your head. Do you agree on how
Yeah,
that works?
absolutely. Absolutely. And people, a lot of times people were so literal that we're saying, well, I don't know that why would they do that? And the answer is, I don't know why. But, sometimes just be a little broader. I always tell people, instead of asking for a sign, thank them for the sign.
Oh, I
Just say,
like that.
thank you for letting me know you're here. And don't say, by showing me this or playing this song or doing this. Don't tell them how to do it. Just thank them that you got it. Thank them. Thank you for letting me know you're here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for making me feel that exhale. Just make it real simple.
Deborah, this has been such a great conversation. I have enjoyed you so much. I can't believe the hour is up,
It's
and
wild.
we're winding it up. So grateful for you. So grateful for the fan club you have here in the chats. And I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody's questions, but maybe there'll be a next time that Deborah will be here, and then we can get those questions asked. So thank you. I appreciate you, Deborah, for taking the time to be here and allowing us to have this conversation, which I thought was phenomenal. Thank you to your followers. Thank you to Bridget, my right hand, my left hand. So grateful for all you do and your technical knowledge, especially in this retrograde. And I want to thank you, the listening audience, and all you who came on and who have been writing to Deborah this past hour. Thank you for taking the time out of your life and your day to be a part of the show. It just gives more information out based on your questions. So thank you. If you're going to be in Charlotte tomorrow, I will be at the Bag Lady from 2:30 to 6:30, and the Bag Lady is at 1516 East 4th Street in downtown Charlotte. So if you're around, please stop in and say hello. If just we're going to have a little conversation. I'd love to get to know you. So thank you. Let's see, Mother's Day just passed. I don't think we have any holidays coming up. So check out Deborah Hanlon, Hanlon, at deborahhanlon.com. Look to see what she does, what her meditations, her sessions, her classes, all on the website, so you don't miss a thing. And I guess until next week, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. Know how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. And if you have not heard these words today, because believe it or not, there are people who don't hear these words, I love you. You are loved. You are never alone. Not only do I love you, but there are so many beings on the other side of the veil who are there watching and supporting. So if you need something, ask out loud for what you need, what you want, and just let them conspire on your behalf and let it go, let it be. And so you can be open to receiving whatever it is you're asking for. But as we were just talking about, don't think of it as a linear something, because you've never expected it to. So thank you. I love you. Next week, our guest is going to be Raphael Weissman. So tune in for Raphael. He's amazing, just like Deborah is. And until then, stay well. Take care. And we'll see you next week.